In a small village there lived a quiet young man. On the outside, nothing about him seemed remarkable, but inside him, there was a storm that never ceased. Whenever someone said something careless, or when the smallest misfortune occurred, he would carry it with him for the whole day, sometimes for a week, sometimes for a year. He would replay it, analyze it, reimagine every word, every glance, and then ask himself, was I wrong? Why did they treat me that way? Over time, his mind had no space left for anything else but the spinning loops of the past. Friends began to drift away. Every job he tried fell apart. He felt no one understood him. At times, he felt the whole world was unjust. A close friend, seeing this, felt sorry for him and said, "Far off in the eastern mountains, there's a gentle meditation master. People say, just one meeting with him, and your heart will feel half as heavy." The young man nodded. He didn't expect much, but he went anyway, because if he didn't, he feared his thoughts would swallow him whole. That day the sky was overcast. At the mountain's peak, where an old wooden monastery stood, he met the master. No rituals, no questions, just a gaze that seemed to see through him. The master said nothing. He simply poured a glass of water, held it out in front of the young man, and asked, "Tell me, how heavy do you think this glass of water is?" He looked at the glass of water. Maybe around 200 grams. He hesitated, then replied, "Probably not very heavy. Pretty light." The master nodded, still holding the glass. "That may be so. If I hold it for a minute, no problem. 10 minutes, my arm starts to ache. 1 hour, it stiffens. A whole day, I might feel like cutting the arm off." He paused, set the glass down, then looked the young man in the eye. What causes pain isn't the glass, but the arm that refuses to let go. The young man stood silent. The cold sank into his bones. What had he been gripping so tightly from the past? A harsh word from 3 years ago? Someone who dismissed him at a bar table? A mistake made when he was too young to know better? Those past moments, they were the glass. But holding on was no longer just habit. It had become his identity. The master walked slowly, leaves crunching beneath his feet, his voice warm but weighty. You cannot forget the faults of others. You cannot forgive your own. You cannot let go of what can no longer be changed. And so you grow weary, even though there's nothing actually on your shoulders. The young man stood still, trembling slightly. A ray of sunlight pierced through the bamboo slats, landing on the glass of water on the table. The water was still, the glass unmoving. Only his hand had been carrying the weight. The master placed a hand gently on his shoulder and breathed. Let it go. He relaxed his arm, as if he had just dropped an invisible blade he had held to his own chest for years. A lightness spread through him, like a breath after being underwater too long. His chest softened. His mind cleared. He bit his lip. But what if by letting go of the past I lose a valuable lesson? The master smiled. You're not letting go of memory. You're letting go of the pain. What you needed to learn, it's already written in your bones. Pain doesn't make you wiser. It only makes you tired. That afternoon, the young man walked down a narrow path to the stream at the foot of the hill. The water was cold, crystal clear. His fingers moved slowly through it, as if being washed clean. And in that moment, he understood. We don't always need to try so hard to forget. Sometimes all we need is to remind ourselves to loosen the hand, still holding on to what's already gone. From that day on, he began to change. Not suddenly, but like sunlight slowly seeping through layers of cloud. He no longer tried to chase away old memories, but learned to observe them. When a sad moment came flooding back, he no longer blamed himself for being weak. Instead, he gently asked, "Which glass of water am I holding this time?" And if he realized he was gripping the past again, he put it down. Not with force, but with tenderness. In the mornings, when he meditated under the Bodhi tree, the bird song, the wind rustling the leaves, everything became a quiet reminder. Life never stops. But for a long time, he had been standing still, within the prison of his own thoughts. The Zen master didn't say much. Sometimes he would simply place a warm teapot on the porch, or fold a cloth that the young man had left behind. That silence taught him more than 1,000 sermons. One day, while sweeping the monastery yard, a gust of wind scattered dry leaves everywhere. They swirled in circles, like old memories once did in his heart. He paused, smiled to himself. Leaves will fall. I only need to stop trying to catch them. For the first time in years, he invited an old friend to visit, someone whose words had once cut deep. They sat across from each other on the old wooden bench. His friend asked, "Why are you still kind to me, after all the things I said?" He smiled softly. "Because I've learned that holding on to a wound doesn't help it heal. It only makes it hurt longer." From that day, people in the village began to notice a calmness in him. He was still the same person, but different. Not easily angered, not often sad, no longer retelling stories of the past. One day, a young woman came to the monastery, in tears from a broken heart. He quietly poured her a glass of water and asked, "If you held this all day, how would your hand feel?" She looked up, and in her eyes he saw his former self, lost and unsure. But this time he was the one to gently lift the glass and say, "Letting go isn't weakness. It's freeing your hand to reach for something better." Each evening, as the sun dipped gold over distant hills, he walked the temple grounds, no longer burdened by endless questions in his mind, only footsteps, wind, and a stillness resting gently in his chest. One day, the Zen master said, "I have nothing more to teach you, because now you are teaching it to others." He bowed, eyes misted, not from emotion but from realizing he had finally stepped out of the cage made by his own thoughts. And if you ask, where did this journey begin? The answer would be simple. With a single glass of water, put down at just the right moment. That autumn, the leaves began to turn golden over the temple roof. In the cool, sunlit afternoons, he often sat on the wooden porch, gazing far into the forest, now painted in autumn hues. Inside him, the storms of the past had quieted. Only a gentle breeze of peace remained. One day the Zen master called him over. They sat facing each other, amid the warm aroma of tea in the crisp air. The master slowly asked, "What is the greatest lesson you have learned in these days?" He looked down at his hands and smiled. "That I don't need to hold on to everything, only what is worth keeping, and to learn to let go of the rest." Then he shared, "I keep gratitude, because through pain, I learned to truly listen to myself. I keep compassion, because I once struggled, and now I cannot turn away from those who are still fighting. I keep memories, not for regret, but as reminders that growth comes not only from joy. But I have let go. Let go of careless words from others, because I refuse to let them control my new days. Let go of self-blame, because I know I have learned from my mistakes. Let go of the need to understand everything, because some things only need to pass through, not be fully explained." The Zen master nodded, saying nothing more, just refilling the cup he had just emptied. They sat like that, no hurry, no lessons spoken. Each gentle breath a profound teaching. That afternoon, he walked along the hillside trail, near the old stream where he once washed his hands. The stream still flowed, but inside him, there were no more floods of unrest. he met old friends from the village. They asked, "Why do you look so peaceful? Have you found a way to stop overthinking?" He didn't answer immediately. He looked up to the canopy, where sunlight filtered through leaves, like the knowing eyes of an old friend. Then he said, "I cannot stop my thoughts, but I choose not to follow them. I still live among so many old things, but my heart is no longer there." At day's end, he returned to the temple yard, palms pressed before the Buddha statue. He asked for nothing, complained about nothing, only a deep bow, a silent thanks to life for the many stumbles that taught him to rise again with a lighter soul. Because sometimes, we don't have to win every battle in our mind. Just learning to let go is already enough to find peace.